All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Oh my God, we're in the studio, and I tell you the truth, the devil is busy, but it's all right. Good Lord,
Third
third
time's a
time the
charm.
charm. That's absolutely right. Oh my God. But before I get started, of course, we have to share all the information and do what we're supposed to do on our inviting our guests and thanking them for being here. So again, you have tapped into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. The Eyes of the Conscience Soul with Sister B Mello brings to you every first Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. The Cafe Le Blue Lounge, where there are 15 to 45-minute segments called The Corner. Each corner has a blueprint that is unique of its own. So we always ask you to vibe out to our fireside chats and be inspired by affirmations and inspirational messages. The first part of the corner could be the artist talk. We showcase musicians, poets, singers, dancers, film producers, authors, comedians, gospel and R&B rappers from around the Bay Area to across the globe. They share their creative process and their lived experience. The other part of the corner could be Why I Dream. We highlight and honor the inventions and creative work of today's brilliant mind, along with geniuses from our past. We are preserving African American history and culture in order to keep our legacy alive. The other part of the corner could be She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. This is where you will hear from individuals sharing their personal testimonies to what the Lord has done and is doing in their lives, which are inspirational messages. Also, we are highlighting Golden Light affirmations to impart the healing medicine in the souls of brilliant minds today. Every second Saturday of the month is the Medicine Hour with Mr. George Pearson, founder and producer of Education is the Best Medicine, and Miss Barbara Howard, aka Sister B Mello, is his co-host. This is where we believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, financing, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to mental wellness, healthy eating habits, and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Every third Saturday of the month is the Medicine Hour, hosted by Mr. George Pearson, the founder of Education is the Best Medicine. Education is the Best Medicine is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization which is community based, health, educational, advocacy based, and a resource based organization that uses public media, resources, radio, newspapers, and church community health fairs to provide information and education. We believe vision is the art of seeing things yet unseen and bringing light to a very dark world. And Mr. Pearson has changed that, and we will let you know later on. Every fourth Saturday of the month is the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adults radio show with my co host, the Doc, the Prince of Hearts, and the Voice. This is where we have real talk conversations with individuals, community organizations, leaders, business owners around the Bay Area to across the globe and the community. And we have hot topics with the young adults and the youth. Every fifth Sunday of the month is called Voices That Care. That's where we talk about and information regarding reentry and mental wellness. But today you are tuned into the Medicine Hour. I, in Mr. George Pearson absence, I am the co-host, and I am before you today with my special guest. Today's theme is Our Lives Matter, and my guest is Tamisha Walker, founder of Safe Returns, and she wears many, 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 many hats in our community. Sis, you said three times is a charm.
3 times is a charm.
Oh my God, I'm so grateful and thankful that you are here with us today. But that's all right. You know, we understand this. In our community, when things happen, we just continue to push on
Yes.
and make it happen. Unfortunately, it happens sometimes, but you know what? God is good. So before we get started with our conversation, I wanted for folks to know a little bit about who you are, your family. We're going from family, you know, we got to get highlights and say hello to their self and all that stuff first before we actually go through this actual journey about our lives matter and the beautiful work that you're doing in the community. So we're going to start there first. Introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. Tamisha Torres Walker. I am the co-founder, executive director of Safe Return Project. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you a little bit more about the mission of Safe Return and our work when we get into that portion of the conversation.
Okay.
Currently a city council member in the city of Antioch.
And thank you for doing the work.
Like, somebody appreciate it. At least somebody appreciate it. But you know, just a little bit about myself. I grew up in the city of Richmond. You know, I identify as formerly incarcerated, right? So I have experienced jail time in the carceral system and, you know, lost a lot of friends and family members to gun violence in our communities at a time where, you know, Richmond had 45 homicides a year, right? And so I think growing up in a community that also had a lot of violence but was still close-knit really set the stage for my values, being, you know, raised largely by my grandmother, sometimes in and out of foster care. The great part is I've only ever stayed in one stranger's house doing foster care because family members always stepped up. You know, as being young in Richmond, like people know how it was to be young in Oakland. You know, I was born in the 80s. And so I spent a lot of my time just trying to figure out who I was. You know, being involved in the family business, you know, a lot of
I know all about that.
You know, the underground economy, right?
That's right.
I think the thing that for me was that, like, I always enjoyed school. I was always a quality student. There were just always things that happened in life. I moved around a lot as a young person. I spent some time, you know, from house to house, couch to couch. You know, that's not a unique story. And, you know, I became a teen mom at 15. You know, my oldest is 26 now. And I think, you know, that was the first time I ever felt like I needed to live for something, and I know that's like a difficult conversation to have. But it was just the thing that I had is like, okay, now I'm no longer living day to day because I'm responsible for somebody.
That's right.
And just
it was a blessing.
Yeah.
It was a blessing.
I tell him all, you know, I say all the time to people, my oldest son saved my life.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. And not that I'm encouraging teen pregnancy. It just, you know, it just happened for me that way. And so many years in the streets, running the streets, struggling with trauma, you know, using drugs and alcohol to cope, you know.
That's right.
And then fast forward, find myself, you know, tied to the same, you know, CFS system with my kids that my mom was tied to with me, and a lot of bad mistakes and bad choices.
Which we all have.
Right. Ended up
through our lives.
Right. Ended up, you know, finding myself in, you know, county jail in Contra Costa, facing almost 10 years in prison. And, you know, I don't know about other people, but when somebody tell you that you could spend 10 years of your life in prison for your very first offense, you know, I really had to think deeply about, I can't do 10 years.
Mine was 20. I was facing 20. I mean, I was facing life because of a mistaken identity. So
and it wasn't even you,
and
right?
It wasn't even me. I didn't even that time. I didn't do nothing.
So
but
I think
and I'm
here
today,
right?
On,
and you,
I believe.
You never know what situations and circumstances God is gonna put you in.
Come on now.
To like change your life around.
That's
And to the exact day that I was arrested the year before, somebody said you need to get your life together. And and I'm like, I blew it off.
Yeah.
But the same day I was arrested, a year later was the same day a year before somebody told me that I should get my life together. And so, it
wasn't a coincidence.
It wasn't.
That was in alignment.
Right. It wasn't really. And so, when I showed up in jail and not knowing what to do, my bunkie, because that's what we call them.
That's right.
Might call it a roommate. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And she gave me a Bible. And this lady was facing,
God can use you anywhere.
This lady was facing life.
Wow.
And she gave me a Bible, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
And she was like, read it. I'm like, start from where? She said, start from the beginning. And ever since that day, I've been on a healing journey, a journey to figure out who I am, what I'm called to do in the world. It's all a culmination of my experiences. I don't, like you always say, nobody is the whole of their worst mistake.
Can you repeat that?
Nobody is the whole of their worst mistake. But you have a lot of experiences that come together to create purpose in your life.
I believe that truly. Because I'm going to let you get back. But I believe that even for my own life. I know all of what I went through was it was for me, but it was for someone else too. And how can I take my experiences, share with them to empower them, And I tell people, good, bad, ugly, challenges, your story counts. It doesn't matter where you've been, what you've been through, what you're doing right now. You can stop and you can then start going towards a healing journey in your life. And that's why it's so important for us to pour back into people's lives, not just look at them like, oh, you ain't gonna never be anything. Because I was told that, even though I was in a house that was so positive. That happened to me in school. One of my teachers told me that I would never, ever be anything in life. So, and then for my life, everything spiraled down after that. So because I love that particular teacher, even though I had everything positive at home, the whole nine. But however, I said that to say that I believe that I wouldn't take back the things that I've been through, because I can truly, with lived experience, say to a person that's in that situation and they can feed from me and really understand. To me, that's called the anointing. As we know, yes. Because it oozes from you when you're telling your life story, and somebody that's there, they know you haven't gotten that from a book. They can feel that that's for real. So it's a beautiful thing. And I thank you again for sharing. But go ahead, sis.
Yeah.
People let me
No, of course. We're sharing. This a dialogue.
That's right. That's how we do.
I think for myself, that time in jail was significant because one, it gave me some time to think about, life. Right. Yes. And so for me, it was just like, also just, we walk around with a lot of trauma. And what I found out about myself was everything I did was to get attention from somebody who didn't have a capacity to give me that attention.
Can you say that again? Because that's what is happening with our youth today. And other people too, but majority of it is with our kids.
Yeah.
They're seeking that attention.
Yeah, I think it was like, for me, it was just me having to, through many conversations, reading the Bible, also self-reflecting on like my own future in that moment.
Yes.
When I could like spend a lot of time away from my kids, because now at this point I have 2 children.
Right.
And just also a really scary moment. And so the thing that I had to realize was that I was seeking attention from somebody who didn't have a capacity to give it to me.
Yes.
And so what I figured out while I was in there was like, expectations kill you. Because when I was expecting somebody to give me something they didn't have, it was like, it was so soul crushing.
Yeah.
But when I figured that out, it was like, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting somebody to give me something that they are devoid of.
Yeah.
And so now how do I one get that to myself, but also make sure that I'm giving that to my kids,
Yes.
which was like my sole purpose for living at that
That's
point.
right.
And so just after a lot of self-work, self-reflection, get out, come home. And now I'm like a felon.
Yeah.
Right? What do? I spent like from a teenager to I was arrested 22 times before I was 18.
Right.
Lack of resources, lack of attention,
Mm-hmm.
lack of structure, right? But nothing prepared me for like now having to navigate this system with like a mark on my record. And I'm ready. I'm ready. And I'm not letting nothing get in my way.
Mm-hmm.
Not even Christians.
That's right.
Yo, you need some water. You need some water.
You need some water.
Because I don't think people know how vulnerable you are. Like, almost 15 years ago, and that's how long I've been home from incarceration, there wasn't a system of reentry in Contra Costa. There were no real resources for people impacted by incarceration, which is why we had a 75% recidivism rate.
Right.
There was nothing. So people was just going back into these institutions.
Right.
Which also don't care about us.
Right. Oh, before we go there, now, thank you for sharing, but you ain't said kudos, hello to the family, call the family out. We got, because I'm like, look, we on the radio, and the people like, wait a minute. They ain't said nothing about their family. Hold on. But go ahead and say to your kids.
I love my family. Shout out to my fam, my partner, both of my sons, Yomani, Ira, my granddaughter who is fire. She just turned 6. That's my Lily. My mom, uncles, everybody, my Safe Return family.
Yes.
Just all my family at Safe Return. You build community. You have to. And so I just want to thank everybody at Safe Return. They know who they are. Yes. The founders of Safe Return, and like most of all, I want to thank like my ancestors.
Ooh, come on now, because they up in the room with us today.
I want to thank I want to thank my ancestors, and I want to thank the God of my own understanding, and I mean that. And I always say the God of my own understanding because your God might not have my best interests at heart.
Come on,
and so. Though that's just the love I want to put out there. Everybody who ever supported me through this journey of like healing, finding myself, but also building, like being a part of movement. Just grateful for being able to use my experience to help other people. So shout out to everybody, and shout out to everybody out there who's struggling right now. Because you have none of us walk around devoid of purpose.
Come on. That's right. And the reason why I've always, and anytime I do the shows, I want to make sure we honor them because they are the ones good, bad, ugly, challenging. They're stuck with the child. It's like, look at here, y'all peoples. But they love us. And I want to always, I say, give credit where credit is due, and we give honor where honor is due. And that's what we're supposed to do because we're standing, like you said, on the shoulders of our ancestors, and we're standing on the shoulders of our family and our friends. So we're so grateful for y'all. Go ahead, sis.
If it wasn't for, people like Richard Boyd, Eli Moore, Sam Bond,
come on,
Devone Bogan, people who can be in rooms and say these are not the right people having conversations about this issue. You need to include people with direct experience.
Come on now.
And I want to thank them, for taking a chance on me and the 9 other founders of Safe Return Project.
Come on now. Woo-hoo! That's what I'm talking about. Before we get started again, you have tuned into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station, among other things that we do. But please always tap into the Eyes of the Conscious Soul that brings to you these wonderful segments every first Saturday with my co-host, and I forgot to say his name, Brandon. And then we just, Joaquin is another young man that I have. Those are my co-hosts on the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, the Artist Talk. So we got, I'm with the young folks, got my young folks with me. And then every second Saturday of the month is the medicine hour. That's this one here. And Mr. George Pearson is the one that normally does this show. And he yielded over to me today. And I'm so grateful and thankful for him for that. And I co-host with him, but majority of the time he does this himself. Unless I have a special guest and something he wants, and I ask, and we are good. And then every third Saturday of the month is the education is the best medicine. And that's with Mr. George Pearson. So we talk about, he's a physician assistant. So all health and mental and the whole nine, he goes through that's the doc in the house. So we're grateful to him for that. And then every fourth Saturday is the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show, which we tap in with the young folks and have hot topics. And my co-host there is the doc. We have the Prince of Hearts and the Voice. So those are my co-hosts there. And then every fifth Saturday of the month, we have the Voices That Care. And I host that one myself. But again, we want to thank you all for tapping into Believe Radio on the Eyes of the Conscience. So, all right, sis, finish what you were saying.
Just, giving a shout out and credit to people who, take chances on folks who other folks have kind of like thrown away and counted out. So really appreciate that.
Thank you. And share with me now about your safe return. You're founding member.
Yes, I am.
Safe Return.
I was introduced to Safe Return a year after incarceration. And, I was like looking for jobs and, went back to school for my GED, but I needed some sustainable income.
Yeah.
But now I got this felony on my record.
Gotcha.
So I met with my probation officer and she gave me this paper and was like, they hiring you and you have to have a conviction and they paying $20 an hour. And I was like,
I'll take it.
I'm like, don't play.
Okay. Don't play out here now. I'm trying to get my life. Yeah.
Right. And so I did an interview with Eli Moore. The three organizations that brought us together was at that time the Pacific Institute, which is an environmental research organization. I believe it's in Oakland.
Okay.
The Office of Neighborhood Safety in the city of Richmond, whose mission is to focus on individuals who are actively involved in gun violence and reduce gun violence in the city of Richmond by targeted outreach. We just celebrated our second historical low for gun violence in the city of Richmond. So shout out to the Office of Neighborhood Safety, and also other folks, Rodney Alamo and New Life, everybody who contributed to make sure that happened for the city of Richmond, as well as Cisco, which at the time was a PICO Federation. PICO is now called Faith in Action, and Cisco is no longer around, but it was a faith-based organizing institution in Contra Costa County that work to bring together the, people in place. And mostly those places are churches to organize around social issues. Their big fights at that time, I believe, was like the foreclosure crisis and immigration. And so just really those organizations coming together on the heels of a discussion in Contra Costa County around a reentry strategic plan. And being in those meetings, they were seeing people who weren't recently released. And they're like, how you going to create a plan without the people who's going to be directly impacted at the table?
So unfortunately, people think that they know better than we know.
Right.
And it's like, how are you, first of all, you've never been through what I've been through, but then you can tell me what you think I need.
Right. And also, my reentry experience 15 years ago isn't the same experience somebody having today. So now we need the people of today at the table, right? And so they just took a risk, had a conversation and said, we need to launch a community research group, formerly incarcerated people, all the way from local jail experience to federal prison experience. It was 9 of us that were recruited to be a part of this research team. It was initially only a 10-month project, and we were supposed to create a reentry strategic plan for the city of Richmond to invest in people returning home from incarceration. And we spent a while learning participatory action research, organizing how to tell our story, and be in community, but also investing in us because, we needed jobs,
right?
So that $20 an hour wasn't nothing to sneeze at, even if it was stipend with no medical benefits, we needed it.
Right.
And so did a lot of work I think at that time it was the largest survey of formerly incarcerated convicted people in Contra Costa County, and the very first survey that was led by formerly incarcerated convicted people for formerly incarcerated convicted people to have resources in Contra
Wow.
Costa. And so it was a big lift, and we published a report. That report had recommendations from everything from jobs, housing, voting rights, family reunification, everything you could think about based on the needs. And then we started immediately organizing on the heels of AB 109 realignment. I think people don't realize.
Say that again. What is the
AB 109 realignment? So people, where state of California was sued for prison overcrowding, had to reduce the prison population, which then meant that you could no longer send non-violent, non-serious, non-sex offenders to state prison. They would all be under local control. And so what ended up happening,
before you go there, is that happening now, or
it's
not
still
doing? Is it
it's happening? Right?
Okay.
It's happening. Like, I think the challenge is like, Prop 47 came, and then we started talking about reclassifying people's convictions so that they could be re-enfranchised. But I think the challenge that we faced at that time is that we needed to reduce prison overcrowding, but now that we have local control, we don't want people to just end up in what we would call local prisons.
Okay.
And so I think at that time, we found out Contra Costa through a reporter that all of these people in law enforcement, department heads at the county level, was sitting around the table trying to figure out how to split up 19 million that was coming as a result of realignment. And so we just started attending meetings and saying, like, you can't just split this money up to continue to incarcerate people. The intent is that we need a system of reentry, a system of care, so that we can reduce recidivism in Contra Costa and give people resources so that they have options, so that they don't go back to incarceration. I think it's kind of devastating to tell somebody that you want them to stop participating in a certain lifestyle, but you don't give them no options to choose from. Like, it cripples people
because they're gonna choose
I'm gonna choose whatever gonna help me survive. Right?
Exactly.
And so that was our biggest campaign. Really was moving forward the recommendations in our report, and then driving work around AB 109 realignment. We were the first county, through the efforts of formerly incarcerated convicted people and undocumented people, to demand a community advisory body to our CCP, which was the California Corrections Partnership locally, that decide what to do with the money.
Right.
And so that was one of our biggest campaigns. There had never been investment in reentry before. Even organizations that historically didn't serve formerly incarcerated people started showing up at the table to get money, right?
Oh, they'll come out the woodwork.
Right. And even still today, we've created more jobs for people in the nonprofit sector and the government sector under AB 109 than we've created for formerly incarcerated people, which is like unfortunate, but that is still true. And so we led that fight. We fought off a jail because they wanted to use them. Sheriff wanted to use money to expand jails. Sheriff wanted a big cut talking about his budget. And so over the years, we just had those fights. But what we were also fighting on the ground is housing access, job access, locally. And so the city of Richmond, and we learned from other formerly incarcerated people, right? Like what Safe Return was doing in Contra Costa wasn't new. Like there are formerly incarcerated people all across this country whose shoulders we stand on that was doing this work that we had to learn from. And so through learning from these organizations like All of Us or None and other organizations, leaders like Dorsey and other folks, what we learned was that like we need to change policy.
Right.
Because we can keep pushing to get these dollars pushed out in the community, continue to scale up the nonprofit industrial complex, but we also need to change policies.
Right.
And so,
and that's how we have to get the young folks involved. Because they think that they don't have power, but it's like, yes, you do. If you go in there and you use your voice and you be a part, even though they don't want you to be a part of these planning committees and sessions. Yes, you do. You go and you can go and use your voice and be a part of that.
You can. I think the challenge for us was initially the work in Richmond started with focusing on youth and adults together. And then through various conversations with advocates and attorneys and people who represent young people, that was like, well, wait a minute, young people have a totally different carceral experience than adults. So we
That's
need to
true.
separate these things out. Safe return, we continued our efforts to organize around the criminal legal system as it related to adults, and other folks started to organize
Got
as it
you.
related to youth. But then we looked up almost 15 years later, and we've aggressively moved the needle on adults, and we still at the table around young people.
Yeah.
The good thing is that even though it took a little longer, there are statewide coalitions, and a lot of work happened locally to decarcerate folks, which is why we led a campaign around Get to Know Your DA, district attorney accountability and co-governance. And, of course, people was looking at safe return like, why would formerly incarcerated people be supporting a DA?
Right.
Well, that's the people who send our folks to prison. Like, they advocate for large prison sentences, disenfranchisement, and things like that. And so some of the things we got to do out the gate with some of the original members of Safe Return was Richmond passed one of the most progressive policies to ban the box around employment in the country.
Wow.
That it was nationally recognized for that work. And had it not been for the work that was done before it, we wouldn't have been able to be as aggressive out the gate. We passed one of the most progressive fair housing policies in the city of Richmond,
right,
which was also highlighted as a nationally recognized policy, and then began to work backwards with other cities to expand housing access to all housing for people with convictions. We were able to work a lot at the county level to get people access to, HUD housing, tax credit housing, any government ran housing you should be able to have access to and get added to a lease. Because we can't keep saying that we want to build families, but we got policies in place that's keeping people from being a family together, and also putting families at risk of homelessness. Because if your guy or boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, or husband, because we need to recognize that women are now the fastest growing population being in jails and prisons, is that you come home and you can't be added to a lease, but you want to be a family. But now it's illegal for you to be a family because you really can't live with me. And if you find out you live with me and you're not on the lease, now the whole family out on the street. That's right. And so in the city of Richmond, we passed a policy to change all that. We passed the policy also includes discrimination. If you discriminated against solely based on your conviction for access to housing, then you had the power to investigate, litigate, and sue that landlord. And you can be made whole. And I think those are some of the policies that we're really proud of. Most also proud of the infrastructure for reentry that we advocated for back then, and continue to advocate for to be funded at scale today. And of course, even though our work has historically been focused on policy, justice, reinvestment, moving dollars from criminalizing folks into community and resources, we also couldn't undermine the conversation about public safety. Because the reason why we call it safe return is because we want people to return home to safe communities.
Right.
We switched it around because people normally say we need to be held in prison to keep the community safe. And we saying actually no, forever people been coming home from prison. Some people are coming home, and we need to come home to safe communities. So in addition for advocating for housing, we also had to advocate for safe housing, safe neighborhoods. And so since all of us had collectively experienced gun violence, we definitely got on board with the work around ceasefire and reducing gun violence in the city of Richmond. Also supported efforts around a regional effort around reducing gun violence. And people won't know, but in Concord, Brentwood, and Antioch, when they had a small uptick a couple years ago, And so we started diving into, violence prevention work, public safety, reimagining public safety.
Because that was going to be my question for, because sometimes people would say safe community, but your safe community could be mean something totally different from my safe community. So what would be some of the safe community conversations that the reentry would be looking for?
I think like some of the conversations we had amongst ourselves as
Yeah.
a group, but also with other people, was just that like there weren't enough like groups of support. People, because of disenfranchisement and stigma of being incarcerated, you didn't even feel like you can volunteer in your community. Some of us can't go on field trips with our kids because of our past convictions. So like just being a part of the community overall, gun violence
Right,
in
right.
the community, right? Um, some people just was saying that, just like being able to be involved in your community, being able to be safe, being able to be alive and free.
Mm-hmm.
And part of safety for us when we talk about reimagining public safety, even way back then,
Right.
before the murder of George Floyd, was that what makes community safe isn't policing, isn't like what we consider traditional public safety mechanisms. What really make community safe is
That was why I
good
asked that question.
schools, good schools, access to healthy food, access to green space, public spaces, right? We even criminalize people in public spaces, right? Access to jobs, economic dignity, upward mobility, access to stable housing, hopefully pollution free communities, right? Being able to address the needs of young people, family, immigrants, everybody who make up our community. When you get to the root cause of the challenges that we face in our community, then our local governments will invest in what it really takes to make our community safe. And so when we talk about, what Rodney Alamo Brown has been doing with Soulful Softball Sunday in Richmond, and what, Bendrick has been doing, and what Gonzalo has been doing, and what the Office of Neighborhood Safety has been doing, and Safe Return, and so many other organizations, all that work together made Richmond safer, right? And so for us, it's like, and all those entities in some way is addressing a root issue. The unfortunate part is our government hasn't caught up to understand that like they've had this historical massive investment in policing, which has no proven track record of ever preventing crime and harm. But then they fight against community-based solutions to prevent crime and harm that actually have results, proven results, best practices. Policing isn't even a best practice.
That is absolutely.
So when we got involved in that conversation, we were able to see how big it is, the scale that it's at, and what we actually need to invest in to make communities safe. And I know it's a controversial conversation. I never said defund the police, but the reality is that the money got to come from somewhere, and you keep investing in what don't work, forfeiting what do work, and then our communities remain unsafe. And and we also just started being involved, like maybe it's about 7 years, in this conversation around just transition.
And what does that mean?
Just transition. So it's a climate environmental justice framework. It says that we want to move away from extractive economies, fossil fuel. Growing up in the city of Richmond, like, I don't know, I got a check from the, Chevron. When I turned 18, I cashed that check. I got that. I couldn't wait to turn 18. I knew I was going to get my check. But just think about it. You live in a, what Chevron used to be called Standard Oil, generations of pollution, air pollution, water pollution.
That's what's happening in the Bayview district in San Francisco.
Land pollution, right? And then you think about why we have high rates of asthma. Why are people dying, being unhealthy, all these health issues. And even with Chevron investing, their philanthropic side, investing in the city of Richmond, in youth programs and all of these things, and giving out grants, they can never give away enough money to reconcile the harm. So our work in the environmental space is just to say not only is places like Chevron and refineries and corporations extractive economies, but the prison industrial complex is also an extractive economy in that it extracts whole people from our communities for profit, disenfranchises those people, and spit them back out into our communities without the right tools to be able to build us up.
And we also want to say, as we're talking, is this not something that we know? It's been proof in the papers around this. So we want folks to understand that. There we go. Look it up because the information is there. But I do want to ask, how can the people get in contact with you? I definitely want to make sure that they can get your contact information for reentry, safe return, and whatever else you want to.
No
how
problem.
They contact
so you? people, we have a Facebook page, Safe Return Project. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Right. You could also email us at info at safereturnprj.org. Again, that's info at safereturnprj.org. You could also email me directly at Tamisha, that's TAMISHA, at safereturnprojectprj.org. If you want to get involved and know more about Safe Return, what I will say is that we have a Collective Impact Institute.
Okay.
Go ahead. That we are rolling out. It's 15 weeks, and it really focuses on life skills, trauma and healing, organizing one-on-one, political education, and the media to build movements. And anybody is invited to that space as long as you impacted by incarceration, have proximity to people impacted by incarceration. We do it twice a year. And there are benefits to it. People learn how to organize in their own communities.
That's what we need. Thank you. Keep saying.
Also, we have what we launched in honor of Richard Boyd, which is called the Richard Boyd Fellowship. It's a 12-month paid fellowship with life coaching and medical and dental benefits. 12 months, 6 months of that fellowship, you just working on healing.
Oh, right.
Your self-healing, learning your life skills. We're a partner to the Omega Boys Club, so we have permission from Dr. Marshall, who I love because I went through the Alive and Free.
Yes,
I went through Alive and Free. I'm a street soldier.
See, street soldier, and that's in the Bayview in San Francisco.
I went through
we know Dr. Marshall.
I went through the Alive and Free training when I first started working with Safe Return, and after it was over, I said, "Man, Doc, I think I'm still sick. I don't know if I can do this work in the community. I'm still sick. I ain't got it together." So we, the Live and Free prescription, life skills, focusing on like, what do you need to be healthy? What are the 6 months you just getting paid to build yourself up, build healthy relationships with your
what's
family?
The name of that group? I mean, what's the name? How do you
It's the Richard Boyd Fellowship, and again, you just reach out to the Safe Return Project. So we going into our 6th cohort. Wow. Very blessed to be able to do that. If you want to actually fund a fellow and keep this work going to heal people and teach them to organize, you can go to our website, www.safereturnprj.org. You can make a donation contribution. Also, you could just email us again at that info email if you want to continue to help people. But for 6 months, it's just focusing on you.
That's absolutely beautiful.
And
then you get paid for focusing on you.
You get a life coach.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the next 6 months is really exposing you to organizing.
That is so
organizing, awesome. Issue work, participatory research, civic engagement, building up your ability to lead, not just in your community, but in your family.
Right.
And for yourself. So what are the skills you need? For us, we created the fellowship because we said it would be great to just pay people to heal and to get involved in organizing. And we struggling to find frontline organizers, people who are directly impacted, who are really skilled organizers. And so it's also our workforce development model.
Got it.
We've already hired, I think five or six people from cohorts that have shown promise that they actually want to be in organizing, where they're organizers now. And so the good part about it is our application is opening up.
Wow.
For the Richard Boyd Fellowship. We also have taken people who have applied while in jail or prison. or been recommended while in jail or prison because they were going to get out right before the fellowship started. So you know, no discrimination here, but you have to be formally incarcerated to get in this fellowship. It's not like the collective impact. You have to be formally incarcerated at home 12 to 24 months. If you've been home longer from or getting out before the cohort starts, or if you've been home longer than 12 to 24 months, we want to know what you've been doing with your time.
That's right.
Right? That's right. Because this is an investment
in yourself.
In you.
Yes.
We not getting none of this. Mm-mm. And the crazy part about it is most people don't even make it through the first 6 months.
Oh my God. And you know, that's sadly to say is because America and the way things are happening, it's like investing in yourself. It's like, you shouldn't invest in yourself. And it's like, in order to move forward or do anything in your life and walk in your purpose, you got to invest in yourself. And it's not being selfish. It's that this is how we build communities that's going to be healthy and safe.
It's deep work, and we get all in your business. Some people drop out in the first 6 months because they didn't know that they was gonna have to work that hard. Right? It's not physical labor; it's emotional and mental labor. Yes. And so we love it. We in our 6th year, we continue to raise money for it. We found that it does help heal communities, heal whole families and individuals. We want to keep it going. Our next application will be coming out next month for our next round of cohorts. We take 5 people, but if you don't make it into the cohort, we have other opportunities for you as well. We have young people get resources. So we don't call it. We're not a reentry organization, and we are not a youth center.
Let's make this clear.
But we know that there are young people who fallen through the cracks that are not making it into every program focused on young people. And so we do have a youth group that is focused on healing, doing community outings, emergency services, mental health, life coaching services, as well as like coaching them up to be the next generation of organizers. That's in Richmond. It's specific to Richmond. And so if you have young people 14 to 26, you can send them to Safe Return. We got some great folks doing that work with them. And then also our women, girls, and non-gender conforming folks work around trauma and healing. And all of this work is centered around violence prevention, getting people the resources they need to get out of violent situations, heal themselves, but also learn some skills to be able to give back to their communities and organize. And
they can really begin to live.
Yeah, and that's
live your purpose.
Absolutely, really, and that's our sister circle work. Yeah. And we've been spending a lot of years working with Young Women's Freedom Center, who is a great organization.
In
San Francisco. They're everywhere. They stay wide.
Okay. Wow.
Young Women's Freedom Center. They're a partner of Safe Return, so they help us with our gender-based equity work and really just making sure. And this is also a partnership with the Office of Neighborhood Safety, because in the city of Richmond, because we know that most people can be exposed to violence at any time. And if you can get to those people before they hurt somebody else or somebody hurt them, then we can also expose them to some tools and some resources directly up front that they need to make a right choice. Wow. And so that's a lot of what we do, in addition to just grassroots organizing. Right. I mean, if you don't got none of them problems and you fine, we need come to the front line, because we organizing around all kind of policies at the county level, budgets, Black equity, district attorney accountability, doing a lot of work in Contra Costa that could use more boots on the ground. And if you from Antioch, or you heard about Antioch, California recently, we definitely need boots on the ground, because rural suburbia they don't have the activism that is rooted in places like San Francisco, Oakland, and Richmond, and we could use the support out there too. So that work out in Antioch is called Reimagine Antioch. Community members are driving a strong campaign around reimagining public safety and police accountability. Safe Return is supporting that work along with partners in labor, and in movement work from Lift Up Contra Costa. So it's a lot that's going on. If you
Yeah.
just tap in,
that's it. I was gonna say
tap in with your girl. Tap in with your girl. You can also text me at 925-335-6738. Again, that's 925-335-6738. Text me, call me, leave me a message if you want to tap in. Like movement work, healing work is movement work.
That's right. Wow. Boy, I tell you, time flies when you have
right, because we didn't even get into Oakland. We didn't get into Oakland.
But that's all right. We're gonna have
come back
on. Definitely, you will be back for the whatever the 5th Saturday is in the whatever that's coming up. You will be definitely with that because that's the one you were supposed to be on was Voices That Care, but we carried you over here because you could still be in between a couple of these shows that we actually do. But again, we want to thank everybody for tapping into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station, amongst others. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul brings to you every Saturday, first Saturday of the month, from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. is the Cafe Le Blue Lounge, where we have the artist talk, Why I Dream, or She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. Then every second Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. is the Medicine Hour with the host, Mr. George Pearson, co-host Barbara Howard, a.k.a. Sister Lee Mello. And then every third Saturday is Education is the Best Medicine. George Pearson is the founder of that one. And then every fourth Saturday, we have the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult radio show where we have hot topics around for the youth and young adults. And then every fifth Saturday of the month is Voices That Care. However, with that, as I said, that we're kind of winding down, but I do want to ask you this question. All of what you do, Lord, we're going to have you back several times, but all of what you do, what, this kind of like a twofold, I guess I'll add it into. So your dreams for what you want to see in whatever God has given you in the vision, and your self-care. What do you do? Because it's a lot that we deal with. And how do you, what do you do for your self-care? And then I have one more after that, and then we can close this baby out.
What I want to see, I want to see people truly free.
Right? Yes.
You know, I have two sons that live in dark bodies, and I want to see them be able to walk around without having to hunch their back to nobody.
Come on.
And like be authentic and be successful. Mm-hmm. That I want, and not just see that for my sons.
Right.
I want to see that for our communities. And when I say our communities, and I don't know, but like, I love Black people.
Yeah.
And Black people loved me first.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that's what I want to see. Mm-hmm. I want to see that. And for myself and my own self-care, you know, I've been on this journey, you know, reading books and like figuring out my own self-care and like tapping into my individual spirituality. But, you know, being financially stable is self-care.
Say that again.
And, a vow of poverty is not attractive to me.
Come on now. Come on now. Say that
again. And so for me, I think the thing that I want to do for self-care this year is eliminate all shame around wanting wealth.
Come on.
Wanting to be physically stable and comfortable, and wanting, you know, when you continue to tell yourself that you're comfortable being poor,
come on now,
it does nothing for you.
No.
And so, you know, that's the self-care that I'm working on this year.
That's right.
Is saying that like I'm not going to say that like I'm comfortable where I am financially, because there is something healthier about being honest with yourself so that you can set the steps to get.
And that's the first part of healing. Go ahead, Sarton.
So that's what I'm focusing on for self-care this year, is eliminating all elements of shame surrounding wanting to be stable financially.
Wow. And again, I have another question for you, but again, how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so if you want to get in contact with me directly, you can either call or text me at 925-335-6738. You can also email me at Tamisha at saferturnprj.org. Again, that's TAMISHA at saferturnprj.org. If you just want to find out generally about the organization at Safe Return, you can email info at saferturnprj.org. You could also go on our website, which is www.safereturnprj.org. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I don't think we have a TikTok yet. No. I'm in my 40s, so I'm still stuck on Facebook.
But it's crazy. Look, I'm 59, and people are like, Miss, how are you? Yes, I am. I'm so sorry. I'm still, yes, I am. I'm still stuck on Facebook too. But we also want to highlight the other organizations that are doing such good work in our communities, and that's the Freedom School, the Homies Freedom School, Homies Empowerment. Please contact them to get your students, young folks into the actual school. And we have, with that, we have the Wellness Center, we have Hustlers Within, we have the Scholars Program, we have the Warriors Program. So please pull up Homies Empowerment. And this is just one of the Freedom Schools, but we have a Freedom Farm, we have a Freedom Center, we have the Freedom School, and we have the health. And then we can do Homies Feeding Homies too. So we're getting ready to open up a restaurant. But however, they're doing the good work in Oakland, California, and HHREC, Talia Bennett, the work that she's doing in our actual community. We want to thank them. And then we also want to thank NAMI Contra Costa for lifting up our community. We have the African American Uplift Program that folks can get in contact with. That organization that have support groups and all types of faith and focus group, grief counseling, living with purpose, the African American support, family support, men of wellness, and then we have a young women's support group and a young men's support group. So please contact NAMI Contra Costa 925-465-3864, or you can go to namicontracosta.org to pull up the information, or calhopeconnect.org and learn more about the African American Uplift Program at NAMI Contra Costa. We want to thank BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc. that's doing the work in the community. And then we definitely want to thank Pastor Larry Austin. He is the founder of Elevate Gospel Ministries. However, he is a sponsor of the Eyes of the Conscience. So Education is the Best Medicine is a sponsor of the Eyes of the Conscience. So Miss Barbara Howard Consulting is a sponsor of the Eyes of the Conscience. So we want to thank those organizations for the work that they're doing and the support, and knowing that we definitely have to continue to set platforms for our people and for the work that we're doing in our community. I believe wholeheartedly that that's a part of my purpose until I die, till the Lord called me home. I'm grateful and thankful to be able to do that and uplift our community. I tell folks all the time, good, bad, ugly, your story counts. Never let no one tell you that it doesn't count. Right. And even the challenging and the things that you don't like, still, those are stepping stones to get you into your purpose. So, I tell people, look at things in a different perspective, because I have, and I had to, and it helped me in my life. It healed me, is looking at things that tragically happened to me in a different light. And like I said today, my story is not my story. My story is to empower, encourage, or inspire somebody else. And I don't care what people know about me. I can tell it better about me than anybody else. So I don't mind sharing, wholeheartedly about what we have to do. And our ancestors chose us. The Lord chose us to be a part of this at such a time as these, just as well in their time. They did their part. We supposed to do our part. And I'm so grateful, because I know my ancestors walk me every day. And then I definitely want to also share that the BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc., along with Black Women's Media, from HHREC is doing, they collaborating with us. They've been for the second year. We do our Phenomenal Woman event. Of course, you'll be there.
Yes,
It's
I have
March.
It on my calendar.
Yes, it's March the 22nd coming up. So we're grateful and thankful to that. We're excited about who we're going to have on the panel and just how we love on the women. And please go to bhbrilliantminds.org and you can see the work that BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc. is doing. That's one of the nonprofit that God gave me to create. So, you know, I'm thankful for that. And for family and for us just in general. Our lives matter. This is what this theme was for today. And I'm going to let you end with parting words, what you would like for the community. Go ahead, sis.
You know, like I said earlier, you know, you are not devoid of purpose. We all have something to do in this world. And I just encourage you to get quiet and figure out what that is for yourself. And in light of sharing stories and being inspired, if you ever think you can't do it, just look at somebody who did, and it lets you know that your blessing is right around the corner. And with that said, I want to congratulate Shayla Bonner, who is our program coordinator at Safe Return. She program manager at Safe Return. Ooh, girl, Shayla came over. Me and her was the only people in Safe Return a few years ago trying to build this thing up.
Wow.
But when I just be inspired, because when I first met Shayla, she is a phenomenal woman who just made a mistake and got a conviction. But she closed on her home as a first time home buyer right before the holidays. And so, you know, I remember when I became a first time homeowner, never thought I could do it. You know, get yourself in a position to catch your blessing because it's around the corner and you never know who you're going to bump into that's going to help you do that. So that's pretty much.
And there's so many resources out there.
We bring people to talk when we brought people to talk about becoming a homeowner. You know, like they say in Omega, you know, some will, some won't, some get it, some don't, but you give it to everybody. And that's what we do at Safe Return.
That. Say that again.
Some will, some will, some won't, some get it, some don't, but we give it to everybody. And that's what we do at Safe Return.
Wow. Jesus. It was a pleasure having you.
Like
I said, we didn't get through all the other stuff we wanted to get through, but it's okay. Because this is a platform that I want you to be a part with me, and we're going to continue to push it forward. And for that Voices That Care, definitely, that's what I want you to be a part with me with that. And we can bring our folks in from
bring
Safe
some
Return
folks
and
with
do
me,
some interview and let's this. I want people to be excited for 2024. Leave all the baggage, all of what we didn't do, we couldn't do, whatever. There's a brand new day. You know, just like you just said, say to yourself, there's a brand new day. There's a day. How they say, how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. We can't, write down your hopes, your dreams, your wants, your desires, you know, and then just start one day at a time. I tell people, and God dealt me with this analogy. And I was like, whoa, because I shared it with my youth, with the youth that I'm working with too. And God says, it was crazy because he says 15 minutes. He says the basketball games is 15 minutes. You have the football games, that's 15 minutes. What can you do in 15 minutes? Even within that 15 minutes, because we talk about all the time, oh, we ain't got time to do this. We ain't got time. God said 15 minutes, even 5 minutes, even 10 minutes. You know, start off, even if you start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. He says within 15 minutes, look all of what they do in 15 minutes. So what can you do within this 15 minutes? And I was like, okay, look at her. You ain't got no more excuses about not being able to do things that's going to benefit you. And like you were saying, not tell yourself that, no, I want to tell myself I want to be wealthy. I want to tell myself these things because we deserve that. We supposed to have that too. So go ahead. You want to say something about
and reparations.
And reverend, I want mine. Give my reverend. Yes, ma'am. So again, community, family that's out there that's listening, that tapped in, and the ones that's going to tap in. Again, we want to thank you because you could have been anywhere else or doing anything else. And please encourage your family and friend to tap into these types of conversations that we have on the Eyes of the Conscience. So this was God gave me this, the Eyes of the Conscience Soul, over 25 years ago. And we've been doing, Mr. George Pearson and I have been doing the radio. And it's just amazing how if you really want to do something, God, he was like, okay, that's what you want. I'll open up the doors, but it's for you to walk in. It's for you to figure out, and strategize and collaborate. I tell people, I don't like competition. It's about collaboration. And that's the problem with society. They want to give us these little bitty crumbs and everybody falling after these particular grants. And it's like, how do we collaborate? 2024 is all about collaborations. We got to do it, people. We are the ones that's going to help ourselves. We know best.
And don't worry about who getting the credit.
And don't worry about who getting the credit. I'm going to leave y'all with that. Wow. You have tapped into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station on the Eyes of the Conscience Soul. And I want to thank my sponsors, Pastor Larry Alston from Elevate Gospel Ministries. Education is the best medicine, Mr. George Pearson, Barbara Howard Consulting, and but however, y'all know who you are, and we're grateful and thankful. But those are the organizations that sponsor this actual show. Again, thank you, and have a wonderful day. Enjoy that game that's coming on. Be safe, people. We love y'all.